Conflict resolution.
Conflict resolution. Bob, you have a...
Yeah, I think one of the things I've heard 5 different stories, some in agreement, some in conflict. We should have some mechanism so that we can have a clearinghouse. So people hear about things, they can come here and there's a statement, a written statement such as that. You don't have to name names or anything. You can say an individual, a youth or something like that.
And that's something just like we talked about a little earlier is, and we've talked about that before, since we don't have that many horrible things happen, but even bad car wrecks or whatever, we need to do a press release.
Something.
Right away. It just gives those basic, this
thing.
happened at this time and there was whatever going on or whatever, but
Right.
that way people know exactly what happened, and just like just for instance, I'm gonna bring up the 12-year-old girl,
Yeah.
and Chad can talk about that, just as a county case, we're not involved. I was out of town that night, someone called me, said, hey, this happened, it was within an hour, I was on the phone to Chad, I told Chad, he said, yeah, it happened in the county, I've already been in contact with the deputy. I said, no problem, they need help, call out all of our officers, we'll pay the overtime, it doesn't matter. The town will pull out all the stuff, and whatever they need, we'll give them. If they want him to come out, if they want us to call in Eric and Mark, and Stuart was already out. If they want us to bring all of our officers in to help with this, not a problem, we'll pay the overtime, call them in. And he called the sheriff's office and they turned us down. They said, we have plenty of help. So, and the public doesn't know that. They don't know that Chad and I had that conversation. The town offered everything we could on that case. Like I said, I told him to call in all the officers. That happened. They need help. Let's get everyone out there. Let's canvass the neighborhoods. Let's do whatever we have to do. And the county turned you down for that. They felt they had enough officers.
Do you know what happened with that case?
Chad might be able to tell you. I don't know.
I don't have any new information. There was a couple of suspects that they have had multiple interviews with, trying to tear their alibis apart. And so far, last that I heard, it's been a couple of weeks, they haven't made an arrest.
See, and I think that's what everybody's raw after what happened to that little girl, and then this situation, and then you see the 2 juveniles, their parents going around town threatening anybody if they say anything about their little kids, their good little boys. And I think because we're a small community, and when you got that rubbed in your face, it's frustrating.
I'm with you on
I
that.
don't-
You have no idea how frustrating it is. When a case like this comes, I want it to be bulletproof. I don't want an overpaid defense attorney to rip it apart, make me look like a fool, and they go free.
I would feel really bad for those 2 youngsters if they did go free.
I don't.
They would definitely,
It's a
we wouldn't be the
process.
ones that do it.
It's-
Everyone would
It takes
lose,
time.
the community, the
Yeah.
children. I think that what we have to say to the parents is that you need to love your children enough to teach them to own up to their terrible decisions and go forward from there.
Well, I think parents should be held accountable in this town also for
I
what
do
their kids
too.
are doing. Just like something that Deanna's talking about, I shared on Facebook the article right from the news station about it, and I got ripped into by one of the parents about quit spreading rumors.
Wow, yeah, see,
Right from the horse's mouth. So the parents aren't holding any responsibility themselves
Well-
of the kids that they're raising.
I think there's a change in the air, so I talked to one of the parents and they apologized to me for, asking them to be responsible. And so I think, as you said before, it is a process. And sometimes it takes some time, but I think that if the kids saw that there was a consequence, or if they knew that there was a consequence, it would be helpful to the rest of the community.
That time will come.
And then-
Please be.
We have a couple more
Well,
people who want to
then we
speak
need to
here.
make a
Just so we have a couple more people who want to speak. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just kind of want to make a statement overall as far as an observer. I moved here from Hot Springs about 3 years ago. I grew up in a really large metropolitan city, Salt Lake City, Utah. I never witnessed the amount of crime that I have witnessed and have been victim to in the past 3 years is beyond any scope of anything I would want in my life, honestly. I witnessed a gunshot going down Main Street, somebody trying to shoot at a dog right in front of me. He never was arrested, he never was charged, everything was dropped. I didn't feel safe then. I moved out of that area because I didn't feel safe. Last month, my son was assaulted in our trailer. It was broken into and he was clobbered by 2 juveniles that are still running wild in the streets. They were in possession, they were either drunk or they were on meth. This just happened down the street with Grant within a month's time. And it is really emotional to me. I came to Hot Springs, I'm a healer, I'm a therapist. I wanted to share my gifts with Hot Springs. I am now choosing out of Hot Springs. I have bought property in Paradise because I cannot deal with this type of behavior, this type of irresponsible behavior. I was kicked out of the Symes for doing exercises in the community pool by Leslie. I have been unwelcome. I have felt estranged from this community. And that is why I've taken all my investment money and I am leaving Hot Springs where I wanted to build a home here. I wanted to do my practice here. And I have felt alienated, I have felt victimized. And I have heard other people that have tried to find housing here that could not find low housing because other people have bought housing out from under them. There are good people that want to move to Hot Springs and they will not move to Hot Springs because of these types of issues, and I am one of those. I'm a good person, I'm a good citizen, I am an upstanding, law-abiding citizen, and I do not want to live in Hot Springs anymore because of all of this crap, unresolved issues that is happening here in Hot Springs. And I'm just telling you that.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. That's all happening to you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I want to talk about my life. I've been here 10 years. I have a great home. I have great friends. I love Leslie. I've been working at her place now, watering the plants, you know, and I have no problem. I have not been threatened or people, I have lots of friends and I have no problem. So I think it's karma myself, you know.
I have good karma.
Because you know
In
what?
every other place I live, I have really good karma.
I love everybody and everybody loves me.
I disagree, it
Thank
is
you.
not karma.
Wait, let's- Mary, you have a comment?
Yeah, several, okay. One of them that I've been thinking about is that, you know, a lot of times I think criminal issues aren't pursued because there's this sense that if it goes to some district court or something, that it's going to be dismissed. I don't think that that in any way, you know, that nothing will happen. I think this is a repeated thing. This is not a new thing. I've been here for a long time. There's been repeated, you know, assaults with near death and some resulting in, you know, not immediate death, but not too far down the road. And they found out things that, you know, the report didn't really even get filed with the county, or these people were not pursued or in any way because they figured that it would get dismissed and tribal court, whatever. I don't think that's the reason for not doing your part to the point that you have a commission to do this. And the next point is, okay, if Randy thinks maybe people think it would be a good idea to engage the police commission to exist. Okay, well, I remember when Karen Evans was talking about her tenure on the council. She said that at one point they were going to hire another police officer. I don't know who. I don't know anything about this at the time. She said that her question to Randy was, could I just sit in on the interview because it's Randy's is the appointment, but she's part of council, so she was denied that. I think, you know, I talked to the police chief in Plains and Polson. I think in other places that, you know, if you want to talk about transparency, that would be one place to start. Even though it's nobody has a comment and it's not anybody else's call, that we should know certain things from the police commission. That's part of their job, is to screen police officers. We should know, like, how many times has this officer recently applied for a job, where, and was their application denied? We don't want you here. I know for a fact that that's happened here. And that we've got people that couldn't get work someplace else. They didn't want them in Mission, they didn't want them somewhere else.
And you're right, Mary. 8 years ago, that happened. But one of the things I like to remind everybody of is this job is a learning experience. I started out with one officer, wasn't even post-certified. When I took over, the previous officer was in jail. I mean, when I took over as mayor. I had one officer not post-certified. I made some mistakes. When you're doing a job, you're gonna make mistakes. If you're out there working, if you're doing stuff, trust me, you're gonna make mistakes. But I guess my big philosophy on that is, I made them, I recognized them, I owned up to them, and I fixed them. And that is every day as me as mayor in this position. We're gonna make bad decisions sometimes. Does that mean we should keep going down the bad road? No. We need to review things, look at it, and maybe change directions, change how we do things. And this is illegal as heck, Mary, but you know what I do when I went to hire an officer? I called their neighbors. That's what I did. I wanted to see what their neighbors thought of them. And you're not supposed to do that. So I'm not gonna tell you which officers I did that on, because that would be illegal of me to do that. But I mean, but you're right. I mean, I got, in the last packet of applications, I think we had 10 applications or something. But I mean, there was people in there that we found out applied at 10 or 12 different places. I mean, or worked all kinds of different, I mean, so, you know, is some things you're bringing up are from 8 years ago, and those times have changed, and that stuff has changed. I mean, so we gotta move forward, but also, like I said, is if we have a problem, we need to review it, we need to look at it, and we may need to go a different direction. And that's why you're all here, and that's why you're speaking out, and we're listening, and we just gotta figure out which direction to go to help everybody. You know, we don't need to be angry at each other. You've brought up some good points. We're gonna look at all of them. We're gonna move down a different road probably and do some stuff. I mean, you just gotta work with us. I mean, don't be mad at us, work with us. And as anybody has ever come to talk to me about anything at any time, even when they're cussing at me, I talk to them. When they leave, there is a crisis resolved. There is some resolution to that. They might not be happy, I might not be happy, but I talk to everybody. I don't appreciate you coming and screaming at me and cussing at me at my place of business in front of my customers, which has happened a couple times. That I don't appreciate, but I did take the person, talk to him later, and took care of that. So let's work forward and move forward to improve these things and make the town a better place for all kinds of stuff. So, comment.
I just had a question. Now, I was wondering, can the police now do fingerprinting? And also, I wanted to bring to everyone's attention here, I'm noticing some gang graffiti when I walk through the alleys. I don't know if you guys have noticed that, over here by Betty Sweeney's old house. And I don't know if that's something new that's happening here, if there's some new people coming in, or what's going on.
And that, you know, there was some of that went on there for a while. I know the library got gang graffiti a few years ago. Since some other, I mean, they went down a bunch of different alleys, but one of them was Betty, so I'm not sure if that's new or if that's some of that old.
And then down by the SDA church.
Yeah, that was, yeah. On our well house number 2 has gang graffiti on it, but that's been there a couple of years. About that same time frame that all that happened, was Susan?
Can there be a resolution that the commission, police commission, be charged with looking into the matters that we brought forth
Yep.
this evening?
Yep. And then I think we need to look at a lot of other things too, Susan. I think, you know, a lot of, and like I said, is we're not here to fight you. We're here to
No, I'm not
represent
here
you.
to fight
I mean, that's what I'm
you.
getting at is, and you brought a lot of good things, and we're gonna move forward with those things. Tonight I'm gonna appoint a new member to the police commission, and actually I'll probably turn that over to him, let him work on that. I think he's gonna do, I think that person will do really well, with that. Like I said, he's been involved in all aspects, the whole circle, so. Anyone have anything else on this issue? Anybody? Any other public comment on this? If not, we'll move on. Okay. We're gonna move on to the appointment of the Parks and Recreation Board members. To the council, I'd like to appoint all applicants. I'll read their names.
This one.
Maura, Miss Maura.
Oh, sorry. We'll back up then. That was my paper laying here. Let's do the Maura Williams here. And Jerry, would you like to speak on the encroachment permit process?
Well, the encroachment process basically is what an encroachment is in town of Hot Springs, is you're requesting an easement to use town property. And there's no formal method that we've established yet. What it takes is the individual writing a letter because it is granted by the town council. So Maura Williams has done so, requesting an encroachment permit, and it is for the fence that runs on the east side of her property.
It's a wildlife fence, quite standard, except for the fact that it does cross the drainage.
Where's my arrows?
And
Oh, it's special.
it's here somewhere.
What you're looking at right there is from the southeast corner,
At the bottom? Oh, yeah. Those little arrows.
yes, that's the southeast corner.
Why don't you get up and point?
Glasses so I can see it from here. Okay, that is on, what is this, Orchard Street? Orchard looking north. The fence there on the left-hand portion is 9 feet, well, a little more than 9 feet in the right-of-way. The location of her property line is actually in the bottom of that drainage. It's not really Hot Springs Creek, and that shows from the northeast corner.
The bottom right hand is our survey
This is a
state.
tributary, a seasonal tributary of Hot Springs Creek. It is almost dry at this
Yeah,
point.
it's the drainage that comes down Skunk.
So you already built the fence?
The fence exists.
Oh.
And the reason I built it in the right of way is because I was so stumped about what to do about the whole flooding issue. I needed to get the fence up above, flooding. There's a 5-foot culvert just to the north of this fence.
Is that where you get the water for your pond, is through that
No.
culvert?
No, that is where this water exits. Now, right now, you can easily step over the whole thing. It's tiny. It's almost dry. But the fact that an engineer sized a 5-foot culvert tells me that thing can potentially move a huge amount of water. So I looked at that culvert and the whole situation, and that's why I put it where I put it. It does have gates where it crosses the creek, in a way it's a ditch because it's been super, I don't even know if this is its original course, I don't think so. But it's been extremely channelized in this town. On my property, right near my property, there's 2 right-angle turns. Creeks do not make right-angle turns. So in some ways it's a creek, in some ways it's a ditch.
I'd like to say something. I live right across the street from her, and I have seen this ditch, this where the culvert is, coming in there on, right here, I believe it is.
Yeah, that's the one that goes
The
to
water
your
goes right
property.
over the road. We've had it back up into Rosie's place, and the people beyond you is where the problem comes in. And then over the road, And on our bottom part down there, it actually has come up to that plum tree that's dead. So there has been flooding there.
I wonder if that's what happened to it, it got too wet.
Yeah, there's, yes, and we have a bad storm and that will
Right.
happen again. It could happen now.
Yeah.
Can I make a comment as the public?
Yes, Deanna.
This is being on the planning board and stuff like that, this is the part when you built the fence knowing that you were building it on the wrong place. And you come here and then you say, let me keep it please, and you knew it was wrong, and you still did it. I don't understand
Let's
why
back up.
that
Let's back
upsets me.
up.
When you-
Anywhere I could have put it on the floodplain would have been a problem.
But you could have came and asked for it previous to actually doing it, but you did it. Anyway, and I think that, and granted, that's a fence, but that's what people do in this town, and then they come and they say, why didn't you do this for so-and-so, why'd you let them do that? And everybody yells about it, but then you go and you've been to the planning board meetings, you know what's going on. And I think that's what frustrates me. You know, just like diverting the water to your pond. Did you ask if you could do that? No, you just did it.
Basically,
I
the
paid for my
contractor,
irrigation water. I paid for my irrigated
I have
water.
never used, okay, I've
And I-
never
and I
used
just-
one drop of that water for irrigation, not one.
Well, no, but you divert it to your pond.
Okay,
But anyway, I think that's what.
let's stay with the
It's
fence.
not an irrigation pond.
Let's, just stay with the fence issue, that's what's on the council agenda. Councilman Neary has a statement.
Yeah, when I became aware of this, I went and looked in the ordinance book online and under 1212.010 definitions, encroachment B, this is B there, it says encroachment means all private devices placed on the public right-of-way, including devices which overhang or underlie the right-of-way. Okay, like a fence, okay? And 12.12.050 says remedy. In the event that an encroachment upon the town right-of-way is found to exist, the property owner will be sent a letter and an encroachment permit. In the event that the property owner refuses to sign the permit or enter into an encroachment agreement with the town may begin legal action and so forth. So, I mean, when I read that, I'm going, that's almost an open invitation. And technically, I mean, it says placed upon the public right-of-way. It doesn't say, without permission. It just says anything that's placed on there. And of course, I'm sure a lot of people have done such actions in this town. I mean, a lot.
We don't have to go but a block or two to see lots of that.
Oh, yeah, I can tell you about some people I know personally. So I just wanted, and this is all about, the fence. Now, I do have a couple of questions, and when we get to that point, please let me know.
About the fence?
About this, I mean,
Go ahead.
it seems to me that it is, definitely there's going to be flooding there. Is the fence going to in any way, change the intensity of I mean, I don't see where it would actually do that.
And I believe this is your gate at the alley, is that correct?
I think that's what it is.
Yeah, and I would like to say a word about the gates, and I didn't get to finish them the way they really should be because of the restraining order. I've had a restraining order against me for over a month.
This
But
is why the town's going down.
But the gates are designed
I guess I'll do
to
whatever I
open
want.
all the way back and to be on
Not gonna
ropes
do
so
that
that
no more.
you don't have to go to the gate, you just pull on the rope and then tie that back. So they open downstream and,
So the gates are actually going over the waterway.
yes,
So if it was flooding and had debris, you can open the gates and allow the
they
debris.
need to be set up so you don't have to get in or even really near that water to pull back the gates. And I do have, there should be a man gate at the other end that we didn't have a chance to install because of the restraining order, so.
Councilman Adams?
Yes, we kind of went through a fence deal a year or so ago with some property on, what is it, Charlotte? At the end of Charlotte.
Yes.
And we came to the conclusion that fences on town property are not proper, especially without permission. And the property owner wouldn't cooperate, then finally did cooperate. And so we then, and what I mean cooperate, they took the fence down. Then we did give them a right to encroach on the right of way by about 3 feet, so they didn't have to take their porch down. Okay? So I think that sets kind of a precedence here. And frankly, you know, you can put your fence on the property line or on your property. And this, I think, is wrong. I think the fence should be on your property complete and not on, or put it down the fence line, I mean the property line. But
Okay, continue.
this is how I interpret the rules.
So the floodplain issue is not
If there,
an issue for you?
not to me, no.
Jerry, is there a floodplain issue?
There's a 5-foot culvert, I would say.
Well,
I mean,
it all
with the-
resides, it all resides.
He deals with, I mean, he talks to the floodplain people, so I mean.
It all resides in a elevation designated portion of the floodplain. It is a Zone A floodplain.
So what do they say about fences alongside the waterway in a floodplain?
Not allowed. No restriction, no restriction of the flow is the way it states.
So in other words, if she went to put it on her property line, the floodplain rules by federal standards would say she can't.
That's how I.
It wind up having to be baseline flood elevations.
Yeah, but I can sit here looking, I'm gonna guess that fence is gonna go right down the edge of the creek. It's gonna be right on the bank, roughly, if it was on the property line.
If it was on the property line, it'd go right down the center of the ditch.
Well, so-
Well, you know,
Right,
try
I mean, I'm
try to
just about
decide,
dead
it's
center.
We're
to
just
be a creek
guessing,
and
I mean,
waggle, but.
right, so it would be in it, so
It's,
in
a
order,
lot of it would be in the creek.
so anywhere on the bottom, according to floodplain rules, she cannot have a fence anywhere on the bottom.
And that's floodplain a long ways over.
Right, that's what I mean, is so
That's
anything in
like
that bottom.
2/3, at least a half of the property.
You can look at the aerial map that I
I
printed
just
out.
want the floodplain rule on fences in the floodplain, that's what that's what I wanna know.
Yeah, it's,
Because is this going to be, where I'm going with this is one of the buzzwords we got in some of that other paperwork, is this an actual hardship?
Hard what?
Hardship.
Oh,
I mean,
hardship?
is,
Yes.
she cannot put a fence in on her property because the rules won't allow her to. That would be a hardship on her by a federal agency or another agency that's out of her control.
I don't know that specifically would work simply because there's other examples in town where a building sits in the floodplain, there's a fence adjacent to but away from that stream. Same stream, in fact, it's just further downstream.
Well, and you know, we can go back to some of those built 5 years ago or 6 years ago. It's just because something was done wrong 5 years ago, it doesn't mean we need to continue doing it wrong. We need to,
The question would be how far within her property would you want to put the fence so that it's not restricting the flow of the stream itself?
correct. And then,
It could
then the
flood
problem
up
with
to
the,
it and around it.
and what I've always seen around here, the reason a lot of the flooding happens is like the flooding in 96, spring of 96 was actually caused because ice jammed at the bridges and backed all the water up. So if you have a fence in the waterway and ice can jam in that, now all that water's gonna back up behind it and do other things. That's why you have to keep your stream, that's why they put in big culverts, that's why they do all that stuff. So just some more information out there.
Just something to define the encroachment, I believe it's a temporary, it doesn't stay with the property like a variance or something would, but it's a temporary easement that stays with you as long as you own the property.
I believe the encroachment, I believe the way the encroachments have been, they stay with the property, but they have, there's wording, do we have a?
You have a copy of it with your,
There's wording in there that says, that talks,
Yeah, because I'm just thinking it's like something that the town could at any time, really.
Well, there's a
If not so
problem.
removed within 30 days.
Right, there's with show of just cause, I believe
Yeah,
it says.
sure.
I mean, you have to have a reason. The town just can't say, we don't like your fence, you have to take it out. I mean, the town would have to have a
Right.
reason. That's the permit we were using for a lot of the stuff we found around town, but,
I'm thinking maybe that, the tribe or the fence would have some objection or something like
and
that.
if they did, or.
At some point, anyway.
And then that would,
See, the encroachment, working with Thompson Falls on an encroachment, somebody's garage is in the city's right of way, but it's been there for a lot of years, so the encroachment is onto the city's property. The permission is given, but if the garage falls down, then it can't be rebuilt.
Yeah,
So there's sort of there's a limitation that as long
Right.
as,
right.
What if somebody buys it?
and then it's subject to, so you buy your property, the title comes subject to all of the different easements of record, so that would be.
your title insurance. One of the big, that was one of the things, I know my big thing was to make sure that was recorded at the courthouse is a lot of people buy something, then all of a sudden find out after they buy it, oh, by the way, your garage is 8 feet in the city street.
Yeah.
Have a nice day with that. Oh, by the way, the city's suing you over that and you gotta tear it down. That needs to be, it's part of, so, you
Right.
don't want someone to buy something.
Also an insurance
Adams?
requirement. with that.
Hey, all right, by the looks of this picture, the fence crosses over the creek at the culvert, is that?
It
what-
does.
This picture here is actually, we're standing, let's say, on Second Avenue South, like by the Seventh-day Advent Free Store. That alley's down here at the bottom. This is her survey pin. The gate here, the creek is flowing underneath the gate. Then it goes over and actually, I believe it's on the right-hand side of those trees, or is it on the left? We got more pictures
The
here.
culvert's at the north
All
end.
right, so if
The
the,
culvert is up here, this grass. So I can get to the culvert picture here. There's the culvert, there's a
There's
concrete
culvert.
abutment. The
That's
creek
the-
comes down through this gate
oh,
here.
so it goes under the
Makes a
fence
90,
again
goes
there.
under and then goes underneath the roadway to their property. Then it makes a 90 and goes then below the Cozy Cottage property.
okay, I know. where-
Then by Betty Sweeney's property and then behind Wall Street Place. Then intersects the creek behind Kiva Simon's property.
So the right angles are not fenced. They're left open. Those are the most risky parts.
I still feel that, the fence needs to be on your property, parallel with the creek or whatever, so that, it's no trans. I mean, if it's over off to the west of the, creek, very slight chance of water or debris being ever caught on the fence. That would inhibit the flow of the water through the culvert.
Okay,
Well, it's all-
Mr. Neary?
Could you go to number 8, the lower left corner, you see the numbers of the things, if you could go back to like 4 or 5, I think. Number 8 of 8. That one, go forward one. Yeah, one of my concerns, I did do a drive-by, and one of my concerns was about parking, but I can see that this is not, well, it doesn't look like an area where many people are gonna park anyway, but if there's also such a slope there that, and then you can see that vehicle in the background there beyond the next stop sign, where if you look at the edge of the roadway here, you can see that someone probably could, maybe, it wouldn't be convenient for someone getting out the other side, but someone could, but I don't think I've ever seen in all the years I've been in town, I never saw anybody park there, so.
It's very, you can still park there, but where the fence is very steep. I mean, I've fell down it a couple times. Because you get the sticks laying, hiding in the grass, and it's very steep. And so actually, the fence, at this point, is a safety issue. If you, for example, lost control on the ice, you get probably just hung up on the fence instead of falling all the way down into the creek.
Mr. Stelter?
Well, being on the planning board, this is where issues really get to be sticky. Because there are ordinances that should be followed, And when people do things and then come back later and ask for permission, that's where the big issues come in. That's where all of our problems, not all of them, most of our problems come into, is that people do things and then they come back later and says, can I get a permit now for it? And that's just not the right, proper way of doing it. And I would, if I was on the adjustments or the variance, I would say yes. But I have a problem because it wasn't done properly that I have an issue with. And that's where we constantly run into problems with in this town, is people will do things and then they say, oh, well, now I'm gonna go and take care of it, but it's already up. It's already up.
Mr. Neer?
I just want to reiterate, that's not so very uncommon in this town, even now.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you guys have been working on a lot of things, and I know that now we're gonna do things, we're gonna set things right. And I remember another instance a couple of years ago where that was said too, and yet what happened, what developed there since hasn't been following everything either. And so I'm sitting here scratching my head and I'm thinking, because it's another example where someone did exactly as you're saying, they just went ahead and did as they pleased, totally against what the council had found. And yet the matter is still, I mean, it's resolved as far as the council is concerned, but in actuality, nothing has been done. And that's an instance where there has been complaints about it.
And that's exactly what the planning board is doing now, is trying to come up with something so that we don't go into this, so that we have a set of rules that we do follow. And that's
None of the laws have changed since the time I'm talking about, you know?
Bob, right now we're doing it now. That's what I'm saying. That this planning board issue of the review and ordinances came from complaints of people saying nothing's being done. So, you know, you're trying to resolve it so that it is getting done.
Once again, I'm looking at the way this ordinance is written, and as I say, it's loose enough that someone can say, well, it doesn't say you gotta ask, it just says, if it is in the event, okay? So, I mean, are we following the ordinance now, or are we gonna do another dance around the block or anything, you know? I mean, it's, as I say, you know, this is where the town has gotten in trouble. And
And
I
so
know,
I'm not sure what you're saying. You're saying that this should be,
well, I'm not saying, what I'm saying really is that reading this, if I were to read this, and I was just there, you know, taking a look around, I might be tempted just to go ahead and build it, you know? And it's like, I don't know whether you guys changed this one or not in your zoning thing, but as I say, my own personal experience, which I won't discuss here other than in very general terms here, still remains unresolved. And yet, you know, you say, well, now we're gonna do it. Well, I'm waiting.
well, actually, it's not us gonna do it, it's gonna be you. Planning board will bring the recommendations to you, and then you're
I'm
gonna have to
talking
make
about
a
the other
decision.
situation where this is already existing and where there have
I
been
know,
complaints
but
on
that's
record.
exactly why this
There's nothing
is being brought
preventing-
forward.
As far as I know, there's nothing that in the books right now that prevents action right now. I mean, it's been a matter of enforcement. So I understand your point too, which is you gotta start somewhere. But where, you know? And anyway, I had to say that.
Should we get off the
Janelle?
Yeah, this is a very uncomfortable situation. I'm sitting behind somebody that was my client. I helped her buy this house. I admitted to her and apologized that I have been upset about this because, not because I'm on the planning board, but we live in a town that has zoning. And I don't like the zoning. But my question is, if she had asked permission, would it be a different issue? And it seems that it would still be the issue. I understand why she wants the fence where she wants it, but the issue of asking permission first. And it seems that the town is pretty lenient on variances. This is an encroachment issue, but it's a tough one because there's other things that were out of compliance, and like Bob says, where do you start?
because
But you
they're,
have, excuse me, Janelle, but you have to start somewhere and sometime.
well, see, we have a fencing issue, just down the street from me that's
Well-
an encroachment issue and it never was handled. And so it's a tough, they're all over town. I mean,
Well,
but it's not a reason to do it.
Yeah, Mary has a comment.
Oh, well, just that not all the comment on, enforcement of violations of zoning not in the right of way, in the city's right of way. Not all of them have had irate people saying, well, why didn't you do something about this? Then in the case of some of them, I think that people, again, if their fence isn't in the right way or where people, but it is technically not on their property, but they did it. People go by, they don't even notice it. Or a case where some of the really old, hedges or things that have been, you could have considered them grandfathered in. I think that people, it's not all, why didn't you stop this? Or it's like, well, why did you stop this and let this, why didn't you let this be grandfathered in that's been there for, 50 years? But I do have a problem with the way this was done, without, because I think that person is really conversant with how things go in the small towns. But to me, it's not, even aside from the zoning, say we didn't have zoning, there'd still be an ordinance somewhere that would be talking about use of public right-of-way. No, because I'm thinking Plain doesn't have zoning per se, but it's gonna have some regulations, so I'm glad there's a lot of comments on this, because I still am trying to figure out how to.
Go ahead.
In my own defense, I have to say, this was a very difficult decision for me. I really stewed about it, and finally my mom said, you know what the right thing is, put the fence where it should be. And she spoke, I've been to court twice over this, and the first time Mom went, and there was a lot of back and forth, and finally Mom just kind of pushed in and said, no, you have to understand that she had to do the right thing, that she is retired NRCS, she designed things like this for 20 years, she wrote millions of dollars worth of grants, and she had to do the right thing for the waterway.
So what would be the problem if you have built the fence, inside the trees? Why is that so?
It would have to be back, basically where the rock wall is, to get out of the floodplain. Which is way back, almost the garage.
I'd like to say something. It's going to be a big liability if the one day, and it will happen one of these days, because I've seen it happen. When the water comes down, when we do get a lot of water and it comes down, because it backs up clear to McDougal's, to Lola McDougal's. And I mean, that willow tree that you have there, it's beautiful. All of that comes down when we have this terrible storm, and it's all over the road. It plugs the culvert. We've cleaned the culvert. Rosie's cleaned the culvert. She's the one that stands to lose the most, because she's the first one right there, where our house is up high enough. But it's going to be a liability, I'm sorry to say. It will be a liability for somebody.
The fence, or just the whole
The flooding,
thing?
because of the way it is, that nobody's going to get in there to clean it up.
Well, now you mean, wait, let's back up. Nobody's cleaning the culvert, or nobody's?
No, I mean, when the storms come, and they will, when the hail comes, the rain comes or whatever, and it's so deep that it's backing clear up into Rosie's, I think it was last year, or 2 years ago, she had this. And Mary, you may have seen that. And I mean, it was clear back as all this fight.
Yeah. We'll sing Kumbaya here in just a second.
I'm not sure even what we're looking at here.
Well,
I'm looking at this aerial.
But one of the things that I just want to talk on, because I wrote some notes here, and that was the other part of it, is access to the stream bed for cleaning. Is we have some rules with the tribal waterways, is we have actually on the alley side, is a few years ago we went in there with a backhoe and dump truck and took out a lot of willow stumps, all that stuff to help that flow through there, because it was backing up into,
Rosie's.
Rosie.
So you want those out?
Oh, that, okay, I
Yeah.
was thinking Rosie King, okay, Rosie, yeah.
Rosie.
Yeah, we went in there and took a lot of that stuff out, and that's part of the access, is that, to go down that waterway and be able to clean it when it does get growed up. Those willows are getting to that point where they might have to be addressed. The other question I have is stream bed access laws in the state of Montana. Is this stream required to have public access to the high water mark? I don't know if it has to be a year-round stream or a partial stream. I didn't investigate the legal part of that, just throwing that out there, that Montana does have a stream access laws that you can't restrict anyone from.
I'm willing to put in extra gates on top where they, I mean, that would.
Okay, I'm just, these are just some thoughts I'm just bringing out, just so everything's out in the open, so that down the road someone says, well, why didn't you say that? So, I mean, this is for actually a council decision anyways. I'm just leading the meeting here. Councilman Smith?
Well, I like to look at the real details here. In this overhead drawing, I would like to see an actual, to scale, drawing of her property as on the property lines and where the encroachment actually is. It says it's over by 9 feet. So I would like to see where the 9 feet is actually. We can all take a wild guess, and look at photos. But in the case of, say, Bob's Corner down there, we actually went out there and measured things.
Right.
And I'm a draftsman. I like to see it drafted out and see how far. You can't tell if that fence is encroaching all the way down the property line, or whether it's partially in the stream bed. It is not clear to me what we're actually talking about
But
here.
it's 101 feet long and the fence,
Yeah.
the long way, and anywhere from, 7 to 9 feet, something like that.
Well,
Should we get more information then before we do anything?
well, that's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see an actual, it doesn't have to be, to scale means, a quarter of an inch to a foot or whatever it is, but let's get a detailed drawing.
clearer than this.
So we can
Yeah.
actually see what we're talking about.
Okay,
And-
so do we want to
Yeah.
move along, and you want to make a motion to table this to the end?
I'll make a motion to table it, so we
Okay.
get further information.
Because if we get better information, we can make a
Motion's
better
been made, do we have a
decision.
second?
I second it.
Motion been made and second to table this issue till more information is available at the next council meeting. Any council discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, everybody. Okay, appointment to Park and Rec Board. What I did there is, one of the first people who put in for it was Janelle, and we had some discussions, and Janelle and I talked about, we decided that she was asking if other people were putting in or whatever, but then in our conversations, she kind of came up with a good idea, is we just appoint everybody, because the more the merrier, and actually we didn't get that many applications anyways, and Janelle, that way then she'll have more people helping her, so the names I want to appoint to the Parks and Rec Board, I'm gonna ask the council to ratify all the names at once. Leslie Smith, Tracy Dyson, Bobby Woods, Kelly Peterson, Nina DeCoster. I didn't get one from Janelle. No, Janelle Clark.
Yeah.
I said it was the first one, so it was on the bottom of the pile. I would ask that for the council to appoint the Parks and Recreation Board. Do I have a motion?
I move that we do so.
Do I have a second?
Should we wait till Mary gets back?
Oh, I didn't realize we lost one. Oh, okay. We could have done a potty recess.
There's two.
I'll second it.
You'll second it?
Let's vote on it.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Very flexible.
Next is the appointment to the Police Commission. I had multiple applications, actually, 5. But one of them kind of kept jumping out at me, and the reason for it is, like I said earlier, is the guy I've known for a lot of years. He grew up here, he graduated high school here. Became an attorney. He's worked on both sides of he's worked with the plaintiffs and he's worked with the defendants. He's been a public defender.
He's tribe.
He worked for the tribe as a tribal attorney over there. So he has a well-rounded experience with all aspects of it. He's worked with law enforcement a lot. I don't know how many, we've gone on 30 years as an attorney. So I'd like the council to ratify my appointment of Matt Pavlich to the Police Commission.
Good.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to ratify Matt Pavlich to the Police Commission.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. And like I said, I know a guy that we can tax with looking into stuff.
So, is there a time that they meet regularly, or?
That's what we're gonna, that was one of the things I was gonna kind of place on Matt, is to try and get that going again and to work on that stuff that you were asking about. So motion was made and seconded. Any council discussion? Yes.
Yes, can you name all the current board members?
Mike Wigton. No, Julie, board member. Mike Wigton and Paul Stelter.
Mike Wiggins.
Yeah.
The two of you, and it was Ann Mecklen.
I was thinking Ann Mecklen, but Ann Mecklen is a position we are filling. So that'd be the 3 of them. It's just 3, yeah.
Okay. Now, do they have regular meetings, or?
No, they do not.
Now, are those meetings open to the public?
Yes, they are, unless they're talking of, if it's a personnel issue, then of course it could not be open to the public.
Okay.
I mean,
let me ask that, was the police commission involved with the hiring of the most recent reserve officer?
No, there was not a police commission, the most recent reserve officer, no, they were not.
They were not involved. Okay. Okay, are they, do those meetings have any minutes at all?
I don't know.
Have they met? I don't think
They've never
they've
met.
met. They've never met.
They've never
Not
met.
been convened.
There's only 3.
But as by state statute, there's 3, and according to state statute, they don't have, they are convened. One of my things with coming out of tonight, was Susan speaking on this and stuff, and by me putting Matt on there, I was hoping to get that a little more active and have meetings and start working.
Now, but it also seems to me that, reading through, I didn't get to go through it before this meeting, but it seems to me their role is really quite limited. It's more like disputes and stuff like that. So some of the things that people were hoping for that they were gonna get involved in are not really in their bailiwick there at all.
But we can kind of place that on them and see how it goes.
The thing is, this is flat as a fruit.
That's what I was hoping for, is to place that on, because also they do deal with the personnel issues.
Right. Well, I remember when that was passed, and I know a lot of people were hoping for something that was more public friendly.
But I think that's, the state statute mandates it, but then also the state statute limits it on what their role is, but we can expound on their role.
Okay.
To do some stuff like Susan is talking about.
Right. Well, that was one of my concerns when it was initially passed, so I'm just kind of curious of what.
I'd like to say that it wasn't, because he wasn't interested, that he wasn't here tonight. He had a book reading in Bozeman tonight.
But I think Matt's gonna be a real asset to that for helping get things moving forward and getting things active there. I think that will be, it'll work well with that. Mary?
Oh, I was just doing this, but since you gave me that chance, I gotta say, well, this is maybe not quite about the police commission, but, when we hear in the council meeting about working things out, amongst neighbors and neighbors helping neighbors and everything. I like that, that's great. But at the same time, for a while now, because I can remember, and a fairly long time ago, it was kind of like a public meeting, and the incident had been one of the young guys in town driving up Skunk, took out a telephone pole. There was a huge response to that. And at that meeting, I heard, I'm sure that I heard this because I remember I said something about it. I
You
said,
got up and spoke?
because I think it was Ruth kind of said that people need to be doing more in it, of their own, police work, and didn't really come to the point which we have now not maybe heard in public, but some of our individuals are saying that when they ask for help from the police, they were told to get a gun. So, what I said at that last meeting was that I didn't feel really comfortable with the vigilante thing, and I didn't necessarily think that all our guys running around it probably with guns in their pickup trucks, maybe they haven't really passed a mental health certification to be, but we're getting mixed messages, is what I'm saying. That's one of the problems. I
And
think
then
that
that's where
needs to be cleared up.
Right, and I think hopefully by bringing Matt on and doing some things there, and actually I have a letter coming out that's gonna talk about a lot of that stuff, that's gonna go to every citizen in Hot Springs too. I'm not a good writer, so it takes me a couple days to write it, so.
If you've ever been around a lawyer much, one of their main complaints about the police is that they don't know the law.
Well, and that's one of the big reasons I wanna bring Matt on, especially at this time, is he knows the law. He knows both sides of the, as a defense attorney and as a prosecuting attorney. He knows the tribal aspect of it because he worked at the tribe doing that. And that's why I think things are gonna get better, and we're gonna really work on that. So, motion been made and seconded. Any other council discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next is,
You didn't oppose that?
Oh, no, I said, I don't know why.
Next on the agenda is motion to reconsider action at May 24th special council meeting regarding USDA RD grant and loan funding for wastewater project. Councilor Neary has 24 hours or 1 business day to rescind a vote. I shouldn't say Councilman Neary, any councilman has 1 business day. And since the council only actually works 1 day a month, that is this meeting, Councilman Neary rescinded his aye vote on that meeting.
You can't.
So, a couple things. State statute says, one, we have to have we have to take a vote on to relook at it. Personally, a couple things went wrong on that meeting, and one, public comment was at the end of the meeting instead of after the USDA did the presentation, so that was posted improperly. An oversight somewhere or whatever, but in the posting as per state law, that's what it said. So, the other thing on that is, that I didn't like, and no one likes, and it was kind of a forced deal, is USDA shows up, gives us the presentation, says, oh, by the way, the deadline for this is tomorrow.
Pretty much.
But that's what they did to all of us, and that's what I said, is when I talked earlier about the CDBG and TCEP and all that, you have to do all the public comments, and you have to do everything. The other thing that happened in this project, and as an engineer is still here today, is the engineering firm kind of proposed the project. USDA took it to their people and said, oh, well, you guys need to do this and this and this. They added to the project, and then without any public input or public comment. Was it, Montana state law says significant rise in the value? What's significant? I don't know. But this was about 20%, so it's probably significant, rise in the cost of the project. And that was done by USDA. The engineering firm that we have on contract fought them quite a bit on it. Actually, it was another $400,000 they wanted to do, and the engineering firm got them talked out of that, another $400,000 additional to what we talked about. So it got them talked down to that level. But when you look at the funding package, and I just want to talk about that just a little bit, is it gives the town it is the best funding package out there for us in a total package. But let's step back and look at why we're doing it, and that's, I just want to make sure everyone's clear on why and all that. As our sewer system was put in the 50s, a lot of the sewer system has not been touched since the 50s. The south side of town was touched in 99. It was relined and connections and all that done. Nothing except for a few spot pieces was done on the north side of town. The main that takes all the north side of town follows the creek. It actually follows the creek all the way out to the lift station. All that's still old dilapidating concrete pipe. I mean, we're gonna start having some major trouble. Right now, we're having trouble on Jake's Road. Is it our line or the other line? We're not sure, but that's 1952 is when it was put in. And we've added, more school facilities. They've added more stuff on the lines over the years, and we're talking 20 years or 30 years. Down on, and in the A Street area, we have a line that's falling apart. It's full of water. It's full of roots, full of rot. The concrete's actually collapsing. We need to get these lines fixed. The town can't go down there and dig them up and replace them. We're gonna have to have the grant funding to do that. The other big thing that's going on is everyone's flushing the wrong stuff. That's going to the lagoons. It sits in the lagoons. When you fecal matter, toilet paper, fecal matter, deteriorates, breaks down, goes away. The bugs eat it, it goes away. Women's products, paper, it's just paper wipes. I can go pull you some towelettes that are 100% paper, and they're floating in the lagoons. They've been through the pumps, they've been through the sewer system, and they do not break down. Well, what does happen is that fills the lagoons up with debris. Now we have to replace our lagoons to the tune of 30 million probably. Probably by the time you're replacing the lagoons. So by doing a $800,000 or $1 million project to protect the system from that stuff. Right now the valving is all rotted, the lagoons. Lagoons were put in 83 and nothing's been touched out there either. We're trying to upgrade that infrastructure and make it better. And one of the big things I just want to get through to everybody, we have to think of everybody in town, all 580 citizens. We have to think about their kids. Because this project is one of those projects that's gonna do some stuff that's gonna be for 30, 40 years. I mean, the projects we're doing aren't just a makeshift fix for this week. And then one of the things with the projects, they end up saving us money down the road. So I just wanna talk about that stuff just a little bit. If anyone has any questions on the project, or I or the engineer can talk about that. Janelle?
So, a big concern for me when I was at that meeting was that it's a big debt. It's not that it's not needed, but are there grants? I mean, is there another way to go besides the debt?
Actually, there was another way to go, and the current sitting governor shot it down. He took that funding package completely away from us. So when you, hopefully you haven't voted yet, but I mean, no, I was just voting. But I mean, that is what happened. We were going a whole different direction with the funding package. They shot it down. We have looked at the other funding packages that are out there, and what it is, it's pretty much the same debt, but half the years.
Because I did hear something
Right.
about that.
USDA is a 40-year debt service where coal tax through intercap loan or through rural development or DNRC money, that's a 20-year note. The grant funding is going to be almost exactly, it was 15,000 difference actually between the United States Department of Agriculture and the other funding package. So instead of, it was 15,000, they gave 15,000 more in grant. But what we looked at is the 40-year payment. Now you're worried about paying that. Now I did make a comment at that meeting. I wanted to make sure everyone listens to me really closely. We are putting roughly $1,500 a month into the capital improvement plan. We've been doing that for years. Because what happened is when the loans got paid off, well, we didn't just start putting that money back into the operating, we put it in capital improvement. Well, the debt service of $440,000, the payment is $1,200 and some change every month. So we're putting $1,500 in already. So that's not gonna cause any rate problems, because we're already doing it. We're not changing anything. Now, down the road, if rates have to go up because of whatever, it's not gonna be because of this project, because we're already putting the money away. It's in your financial statements. We're already doing the money.
What was the interest rate again?
1.175. And what that does though is also, if that does drop to like 0.75 or something, we can refinance. That's not locked, and that's actually on the water tank project. The money we had to borrow there is what we end up doing is refinancing the other water loans for a lower interest, and the money we saved in interest payments actually is making the payment on the water tank loan. That's why we're already paying the money out. That's why we didn't have to raise water rates or nothing, because we just refinance and move some money around, and we're, because I told someone the other day, I'm paying 3 water bills right now and possibly here a 4th. I mean, I don't want the payments to go up either. I mean, most of you have, 1 water bill, right? Doing multiples. I mean, I'm not gonna, well, and Leslie here has 15 or whatever. I mean, she's not gonna raise your water bill 25% because her bill's gonna go up a lot. I mean, and that's what we're looking at is one of the things we have to do is work on our infrastructure. We don't want to get behind the 8 ball and all of a sudden have a problem. All of a sudden we are discharging our sewer to Hot Springs Creek. Remember, we answer to the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency. We're on a federal reservation, and that's what we have to do. They come in and say, you're gonna fix that sewer line, and you're gonna do it now.
Well,
And we're gonna say we don't have any money, and they say, go borrow it. We don't care.
Yeah. Part of the money's going to a dechlorinator to take the chlorine out of the effluent before it hits the creek.
And then that's one of the things right now is the tribe.
And that's part of the EPA thing, that has to be done.
And actually, someone asked when we were in violation, and I looked, we've been over chlorinating, now we've been in violation for 2 months. Because of the yeast loading. We have to get our coliform bacterias and our E. coli's down below a certain level, which they look at that way more than the chlorine residual. So we have to chlorinate really hard to bring that down. And as what happens, we're chlorinating so hard, we can't get it out of the water, so it's leaving. So if we can dechlorinate it, then we don't have to worry about being in violation. So far, what we have done to not be fined by the EPA on that is we have pictures of all the geese on the lagoons, we have pictures of the goose poop all around the edges, and we've sent that. That's what we send with the, Ruben does a really good job with documentation and photos and stuff, and sending that with those reports when they send them to the EPA is, yes, we're high in E. coli or coliform bacterias, and yes, we're discharging too much chlorine, but here's why. We're trying to protect so some of these things. Mary?
To what extent does the aerator foster, like, is it like fostering the encouragement of good bacteria? I mean,
Actually, if we want.
Does that work in tandem with the dechlorination? Does that play a part in getting rid of the
we don't inject
E.
any
coli?
chlorine. What happens is we have 3 ponds. Pond 1 is where your raw sewage comes in, and as that gets digested and everything, water flows to pond 2, digested to pond 3. When it leaves pond 3, it goes into what we call a contact basin. It's a big concrete zigzag back and forth. That's where we inject the chlorine. It stays in that contact basin roughly in our system on normal flows about 36 hours to get a kill on the bacteria. Then it's discharged to the creek. If you want a little more explanation on aeration, we have the expert here, so he can tell us all about it.
And long story short is it does exactly what you said. It promotes growth of the good bacteria that break down the fecal matter and the sewage. It breaks it down so that you can discharge it into the creek without.
And one of the bad things is you don't want algae growing in the ponds. That's not a good thing for what we're doing because it promotes loading. So if you got algae growing, yes, algae is growing and it's cleaning the water and creating oxygen. What happens when it dies? Sinks to the bottom and nothing eats it. So it fills the lagoons up. So that's why we don't want the algae
What
growing.
kind of maintenance hasn't there had to be in some past?
There are lots of
Maintenance Cleaning up the.
Weekly,
We're talking about sludge and someplace, I think we probably get that too, and then we just deal with it.
what, we were talking about the sludge, what they did is they went in and tested how much sludge we have in the lagoons. The maintenance is what the crew does out there now. When it's aerating, it causes those things that aren't supposed to be in the sewer system to float. So they go out there and they skim that. And if you want me to bring in samples, that's not a problem. But that's what they do on a weekly basis. They're skimming that stuff off. And they're filling garbage cans with it. The blowers are big 25 horse electric motors with great big blowers on them, and then it injects the air underneath the water. And then so the water just sitting there bubbling, kind of like not quite as bad as a hot tub, but similar to that. And it puts the oxygen down in that water and mixes it so the bacteria can eat and feed and do what they're supposed to do. And one of the cool things about it, and one of the things I'm really excited about our system, is a lagoon system normally has a 30-year life. And we're over 30 years into it, and we probably can go another 20 or 30 years if we take care of it. But when I talk replacing the lagoon system, we're talking millions. I mean, we're multiple millions, to do that project. So if we can protect it, that's what we need to do, today. Bob?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't have any problem with the technical aspect of the project itself. I mean, as you mentioned at the beginning here, basically some of the things that are procedures in bringing it about, and also USDA didn't, they sent it on a quick turnaround type of thing, which is not appreciated. And I wanted to take this action mostly so that this type of thing doesn't happen again, basically. And some of the other procedural stuff like public participation, I heard about very, very seriously. And I feel that should always take a very high priority, especially where a lot of money is involved.
Yes.
And so my reason for wanting to change my vote, basically, that's what this is all about, is to find some way to avoid some of the things that happen there. One, we have to be a little bit more careful and pay more attention to detail on some of the procedures. But other things, like they sent that letter of intent, looks like on the 11th of May. And I was looking, I probably got it on the evening of the 19th. Okay, so, I realize that's when the normal package go out, but something like that where there was a change in the project, a change in the funding, change in the source of funding and everything, that's a lot of digest. I spent that whole weekend beforehand, just going through that thing again and again. Of course, I'm new in the job, so that's part of it too. But I'm just wondering if when we have something like that, if we couldn't get like an email saying, this is coming
The day
out.
after I received it.
I don't think we got it actually on the 11th.
I know you didn't get it on that, but it was dated that.
Right, yeah.
But I didn't get it till the 19th, so I mean, it's like, wow, I think so, a week.
I was still waiting for back and forth emails from USDA RD.
Right.
They were still making changes.
Yeah. Well, see,
So
this is another thing.
I
where-
delivered the night I got everything
Right,
finalized.
Right,
now.
okay, fine. I was saying, but if there's a way, I mean, in a case like that, it's like, they got a lot of nerve.
Well, and that's just it, and that's one of the problems with USDA, is just that, is when he said, oh, tomorrow's the deadline, that was the first time I heard that too. I was
Yeah.
like, what?
So I guess basically this is, my way of saying, well, this should be paying attention. Now, as I say, I do understand that the water and sewer infrastructure, and also realize that the cost is high and the attention is necessary, continuous. So I don't have a problem with that, but I do want to make it clear that, I don't know, at a certain point, I was starting to feel like I was getting the bums rushed on the whole thing. And so for that reason, I would like to change my vote, knowing that it's not going to change the overall outcome, but I think it will, if nothing else, be a strong statement that, hey, this could have been a lot more. As I say, I don't want to be the one to throw something off base with infrastructure. Generally, I would say I'm in favor of such things because I know the state of the infrastructure here. So basically, that's what I'm doing here.
Okay.
That's what I
Okay. Any other council discussion? I'll call for a motion to reconsider action on May 24th special council meeting.
Well, what is the precedent for someone changing their vote after it's gone through?
He has the right to do that, it's in state statute.
It's the request for the motion to reconsider the vote.
So what do I make it?
He's making that motion.
So
Yes, I
first you
basically,
vote
I'm
on whether
making
or
the
not
motion.
to reconsider the vote.
Right.
Then if you're in favor of his motion to reconsider, then you vote again on the
On
the
the
issue.
On the issues, yeah.
But what
Okay,
happens
that's
if,
still
what happens if they
confusing.
vote it down?
I'm sorry.
I don't
If I'm
think that's gonna
confused,
happen.
we're all
I do
We don't
really
want
know.
to vote on it. Or we don't want to vote for the rescind, I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
I want this just to go away. I don't want to go back. And, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, and go through this whole thing again. You know, which is the 30 pages of what they brought down and all that.
Why do I think
That's not gonna happen.
It's not gonna happen that way.
You just
Let's-
go back to the vote, you just go, the
Yeah, I
moment
know.
at the meeting on May 24th, when you were voting.
Okay, what I'm afraid of though, you see, is that we get, no, that's my vote.
I have a question. Was there a motion made?
Not yet, no, we're
No,
still.
we're still
Well, I'm gonna
I
make a
called
motion.
for a motion, but no one's made it yet.
Right, I'm making such a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded to reconsider action at the May 24th special council meeting. And so by voting yes is to reconsider?
Actually,
You're voting to put it back on the table.
Right.
For another vote.
right, and then all we do is just read the motion, the motion again and then it's.
So what we're doing now is we're putting the whole issue back on the table. So voting yes will put this back on the table.
Oh, okay, well, we got a motion and second.
Right, to put it back on the table. So now I'm calling for council
I think
vote.
we just, I think, well,
No.
okay.
We have to bring it
To a
back on the
motion.
table.
So it's just a motion, it's not
This
the
is-
whole process.
This is a
Right.
motion to reconsider all that action, to negate the action that happened at the May 24th meeting.
Right.
That's
and-
what you'd be voting on.
Right, and then to basically then.
Then we'll
vote
read
on
the
motion
Then you
again.
start all over again.
Well, just reading the motions, I
Right.
think, right? Just
Yes.
basically
Well, you
motions
you
and
start
vote.
all over again with all these motions,
Right,
with the entire packet.
Right.
You gotta vote on every one of them, don't you?
yes,
Yeah, we vote on every one of them again.
yes.
This is just going back to a little more discussion. Is this going to change the grant funding in any way?
Depends on how the vote goes.
Yeah, good.
This might be the first time in 8 years that I get to cast a vote.
Yeah, that's right.
I've never got to vote before at a council meeting, so you guys might be here for history. But I know Mary's gonna vote, Mary's gonna vote for it, so don't worry about it. Just saying.
The same way I voted last time.
Janelle has a question.
Well, so I'm just curious, if just because, I mean, it's obviously a serious issue.
Yes, it is.
So everyone reconsiders, and it sounds like that the council members are concerned, and that's what I'm asking is, if you don't, if they don't vote for it, that what needs to happen won't happen?
Right, correct.
Yeah, that's
Correct.
exactly right.
But
I
more
just
likely,
want to
what-
say that as far as communication with the public at the last meeting, the special meeting, we had massive discussion. At every time we made a motion and a second, we had public discussion ad infinitum. I
And
mean, as
all
far
the-
as that goes, as far as this, you know, for not having
But I
enough public
would have to
discussion,
agree.
we had a ton of public discussion.
That's true, and I
Yes.
agree with that, and the thing is though, is I know at least two people who told me they weren't gonna go because they saw the agenda and there was no chance for public participation till after the vote had been taken. So those are people who would have come ordinarily, and you know, as you say, you know, I'm not denying that there wasn't public participation, what I'm saying, it wasn't proper, you know, the proper procedure.
What Bob was saying, it just wasn't done properly, and I have to agree with him, because the public notice was actually done incorrectly. It
The
was-
way I see it, if we vote to rescind, is that correct?
No.
Reconsider.
To reconsider. We then put in jeopardy
The
the whole package. because, and what's that gonna do to our date? You guys, you know, it was a date afterwards, that we had to approve.
Well, what happened, if this gets voted down, it's just done. It's
Well-
over. RD will just cancel everything and it's just over. The
Yeah,
project's-
well, see, I mean, I'm not willing to, I mean, I just think it's, I won't say what I really think, but that it is the wrong thing to do.
I agree with that, but I do have to agree with Bob on the fact that the procedural parts were wrong. I can't argue that at all, it's black and white.
I can't argue that either. but
And how RD railroaded us, I agree with him 100%. I mean, they show up, present the package, we only had a few days before we had the final, and they changed our numbers. They did that to us. The engineers didn't do it, we didn't do it. I mean, so I can see why the public is concerned, you know, and we need to just re-vote on it.
All right, call the vote, Mayor.
So I just wanna make sure everyone's, by voting aye,
This is to reconsider.
to reconsider. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
To not reconsider? Nay?
Nay.
One opposed? Okay. Now we need to reconsider the vote on the USDA RD grant and loan funding wastewater project.
You have it in your packets. I read it all.
I read it once, I'm gonna read it again.
Yeah, read it again.
Okay. Do you want to do the honors? Do you want to read?
No, thank you.
Do you like 40 pages or do you want me to read?
No, we don't have to.
You don't think so?
Resolutions, right?
Just read the resolutions.
Well-
What we could do though, just because we still have public here, we want to open it to public comment.
Yes, please.
Let's open the floor to public comment. Anyone that has any comment on the USDA RD?
Is RD gonna say, sorry, the boat's
If you reject
sailed?
the funding tonight, yeah,
No, if I don't know, if by some miracle it passes tonight, will RD
We're not
go
gonna
behind
reject
it?
the
Will they say, sorry, that ship sailed?
No, if it passes tonight, you're still okay. If it doesn't pass tonight, you've rejected.
Well, then it
the
doesn't
funding,
matter,
they'll
right?
give
Don't
it-
leave yet.
They'll give it to somebody else then.
Yeah, they'll give the money to someone else.
Okay, so public comment, then a question of mine is,
Please wait till Randy.
Oh,
Wait till Randy
okay,
and Bob Neary
okay,
come back,
okay,
okay?
sure.
Just so everybody gets to
Sure.
hear it. Thank you. Is that okay?
yeah. And there's probably no way to know in the future, so it doesn't, it isn't accepted tonight. If it wasn't accepted, is there something in a year or 5 years, or can part of it be done? Could we, is there something, I mean, I don't know, I'm just asking questions, I don't know, I'm completely
answer
ignorant
that?
of this.
Hey, you know, it's part of it, we do a little bit of this funding package is from another grant, but it's very little. You could do a little bit of it, but the couple things that are, well, I mean, all three of these are very high priority over other stuff is, right now, the lagoon system has no control valving. The lagoons just operate on however they want, they're just rotted out, and there's nothing you can do about it. And some is a lack of maintenance, no, because they're buried underground. I mean, you gotta dig up, I mean, it's a major project, it's not just like going in a room and changing a valve. The big thing is the flushables in the last few years have become a huge, I mean, we went from, like Ruben said, when he first became Public Works Director, he didn't have the trouble at all, he's been here 5 years. Now, he's fighting that. I mean, our crew spends, I wouldn't say half their time on the sewer system, but a good third of their hours in a year's time are on the sewer system. I mean, it's huge, the time they spend with those wipes. I mean, they catch on, you know, a tree root hanging down catches a wipe, well, the next wipe catches the next wipe, next wipe. That tree root's hanging there, and everyone has to remember, once you go potty number 2, it doesn't stay that way. By the time it hits the city sewer, it's already particulated, it's already broke up. The toilet paper is too. So that tree root hanging there, that stuff just goes right on by. But now when you flush that, the hygiene wipe or the whatever that's supposed to be paper and flushable, that doesn't break up. Like I said, we're finding them all the way down the lagoons. That catches on that root. That catches there on the root, and the next one catches, the next one catches. Now the fecal matter catches, everything catches, and that's what they're finding. So in the last 3 years, we've seen just a huge spike in that. So one of the things is a screening plant. So before that water gets to the lift station, because it plugs the pumps at the lift station, it plugs the lagoons, it cleans that water. So all those wipes they go up a conveyor, they get squeezed and then dumped in a garbage can, they're taken to the landfill. So all that goes in our lagoons back to is just fecal matter, which is supposed to be in there. And then of course back to, like I talked about, some of the lines in town are in really bad shape, and back to lining them is what they do, is they go in and they might have to replace, but most of them they'll probably go in and use a plastic liner inside of them to make them like new. So some of those things will be done, but that stops the infiltration water. You know, some of the meetings I talked about, you've been here, where we put 80,000 gallons of fresh water into the system, and people are watering their lawns and everything else. Then why are we pumping out 250 or 260 or 980,000 gallons some days? I mean, that's been our biggest, was 980. You know, as we're pumping out a lot of infiltration water, well, those pumps are running all the time, well, that costs money. You know, the aeration, I mean, all that adds up. So when you start cutting down on that, we're actually gonna start saving a little bit of money here and there to absorb some of those other costs. So, you know, it's just one of those things to stay on top of it. And right now, this is the best funding package. It was too bad it was to the USDA. Like I said, the sitting governor right now shot down the funding package that would have been, I think we would have had way less.
Department of Natural Resources.
The loan would have been actually substantially less, but also the project, of course, would have been a little less, because we wouldn't have done those things that RD is requiring, which the things they're requiring is actually, in the long run, could help the system. So that's where we're at. So, we ready to move forward? Any other public comment? No. Move forward with the reading.
Okay, well, the first action will be to adopt the letter of intent to meet the conditions, which is this 30-page document.
Do I have a motion to accept?
The conditions for the USDA?
Meet the letter of conditions. It's the same. The letter of conditions states all the project detail. Can you help me here, Jeff?
I think we're,
The letter of conditions, is there a shortened version of the letter of conditions, or is it this 30 pages?
No, that's it.
That's it, just pages, okay.
That's for the entire funding package.
Yeah, that's what they presented at the
Okay.
meeting.
I'll make a motion, we accept the letter of conditions.
The letter of intent to meet the conditions.
To meet the conditions for the funding package.
Just run through it real quick. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept the letter of conditions. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mayor votes aye. Next.
Request the obligation of funds.
Do I have a motion to accept the obligation of funds?
I so move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Council discussion. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Mayor votes aye. Next.
Adopt the loan resolution.
I make a motion, we adopt the loan resolution.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Council discussion. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Mayor votes aye.
think that's it.
Is that it?
I didn't come up with the
The
resolution.
one
That
resolution.
was three, wasn't it?
That's it.
Three resolution, okay? Okay, next is Homesteader, closed street and waive open container. You had that in your council packets. I believe it is exactly the same as,
Last year, just the dates are different, although Leslie did bring a better, Leslie brought a better map, which I copied and issued to everyone.
Right.
I think you had one, but
So-
if not, I can find mine.
We close the streets on Friday night, and at these barricades right here. And then, on Saturday, we put up this one, no, this one, no, there.
I
There.
got one somewhere.
Anyway, that's the open container waiver is a double line in this area right here.
I move we accept it.
Motion been made, seconded?
I'll second it.
Bob seconds. Motion been made to accept open waiver and container. Bob seconded.
Yeah.
Any council discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Is there any communications or public comment on non-agenda items? Jeff, Laura, you guys have anything that joined you left? Let's skip public comment on growth policy since the public's gone. I'm gonna call for a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
I second the motion.
Motion been made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thanks for coming.
And good night.
Did you vote on the adjournment?
Yes, for it.
She voted again. She doesn't want to go home. It's probably still hot in her house.